Hey everybody, David here, and today I'm going to do an MCU video, my top 10 favorite MCU superheroes. That's right. Maybe 2-3 years ago, I did one for the villains, and I never did one for the heroes, and I thought, Endgame comes out tomorrow, which I already have my tickets for Friday and Saturday night, and I am super hyped about it, especially hearing all the great reviews that are coming out, and people are saying get excited for this one. You might have to see it twice or even more times. So yeah, I'm super excited. So with that being said, what are my top 10 heroes of the MCU? This was a really hard list to put together because just like MCU movies, I feel like there are a lot of great MCU characters, and I really had to think a lot about this list, and I think sometimes it could switch, but I'm pretty positive this is my list. Most of these are definitely my top 10. Some of them might switch with other characters once in a while, the lower ones, but yeah, okay, let's get right into this. At number 10, I have Vision, played by Paul Bettany, who started off as Jarvis. I think Paul Bettany is a great actor, and we've only seen him as Vision for 3 films right now, and it has been really cool, especially when he was introduced for the first time. I didn't know how they were gonna pull off Vision. I was mildly aware of Vision and who he was, but getting to know the character a lot more through these films, I think he's had a pretty interesting arc, and some people didn't like his arc in Infinity War. I know some people were divided about the Romeo and Juliet arc in Infinity War. I actually liked that part. It was interesting to see a robot that was highly advanced that wanted to be human. It kind of reminded me of Data from Star Trek The Next Generation, I thought, but even more advanced, I guess. So yeah, Vision is definitely my number 10. At number 9, I have Black Panther. Black Panther, played by Chadwick Boseman, who was introduced to us in Civil War. I think he has had an interesting arc in both Civil War and Black Panther, his own film, which I thought was really great. Yeah, I really did like his story in both of those films and where his character ends up. And it's kind of cool having a king of a country be part of this the Avengers team, right? I don't think he's officially an Avenger yet, but it is kind of cool knowing that he's part of this universe, and where to see him go in this universe from here on out. Because, come on, I haven't seen the movie yet, but I'm pretty sure we'll see what happens. But we are gonna get a Black Panther 2. It will be interesting to see where the character goes once he's hopefully back. So, moving on to number 8, I have Nick Fury. I don't know if people consider Nick Fury a hero or not. I do, and I think he is one of the most badass characters that assembled the Avengers together. And getting to have a little bit more of him in Captain Marvel, a younger side of him, I thought his character is really cool. I really like him. I didn't like the way he got his eye scratched out. If you didn't see Captain Marvel, I won't spoil how, but he gets his eye scratched. I think people are expecting it. It is kind of disappointing the way that happens. But other than that, I think he is a really great leader in assembling this team and taking charge when it matters. And obviously he has a little bit of shadiness to him, but it's for reasons of his own. After all, he can't really trust anybody because of a certain character in Captain Marvel. So, moving on to my 7th favorite MCU hero, I am going with Gamora. I think Gamora has had a great arc throughout the MCU. A lot of people I don't know if would think of Gamora. I think some people would take Black Widow over her and a few other ones. I really do like Gamora. I think she is one of the strongest female characters out there. Her relationship, how it's tied into Thanos, and her relationship with her sister is really interesting. And how Star-Lord might be the main centerpiece of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, but I feel she's kind of equally in that too. I think they kind of share it in a lot of ways. So I really love the character of Gamora, and will she come back? That's the one I don't know if she'll come back or not. We'll see. Moving on to my sixth favorite hero, I have Star-Lord. Gamora and Star-Lord side by side with each other. I didn't know whether to put Gamora over Star-Lord or Star-Lord over Gamora. I ended up with this. So, Peter Quill, played by Chris Pratt. He has had a great arc also since he was introduced, with his mother being a human, and then what we learn in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 about his father. I think he's had a great arc, and I think that makes him a great character. He's had to have made some strong choices, and his relationship with Yondu also, I think, should be looked at a lot more. I think a lot of people do, and the Guardians of the Galaxy movies are ones that make me laugh a lot. I know some people are a little harsher on the second one. I love the second Guardians movie, and Yondu's funeral is so well done. I really do. That's like one of the few superhero movies nowadays that actually tears me up. And it's also because of, what Star-Lord has to say at his funeral, and how he realizes that Yondu was probably more of a real father to him than his actual father. So there's a lot with Star-Lord that I think can be even more explored and make him even more interesting as we go into Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So, moving on to my fifth favorite superhero in the MCU, Iron Man. Some people were probably surprised about this one because Iron Man is definitely top 3 material. I have him at 5th place. I really do love Tony Stark. Robert Downey Jr. plays him perfectly. Robert Downey Jr. probably one of the best actors in the MCU. But I do feel like his character, even though his character has had a great arc, I do feel that there are some other characters that kind of get underlooked. I get it. Robert Downey Jr. is a great actor, but I do feel some other characters are probably a little bit more interesting for me than his character. I still love his character, and I still love the arc he has had to go through since Iron Man 1. And to see where he is at now, he really is a different character than he was back in that first Iron Man movie, and I love that character for that. But like I said, this list was really hard to choose, which brings us to number 4 now. I have Spider-Man. Spider-Man had to make the top 5 for me. It doesn't matter if it's the Tobey Maguire version or the Andrew Garfield version or the Tom Holland version, which I do think is the best version of Spider-Man. Spider-Man was going to make my top 5 regardless because I really do love that character. And I think Tom Holland puts a lot of spirit and energy into this role. And he's so much fun seeing him interact with the other characters. He really does feel like a high school kid, which also adds a freshness to it that I think the other 2 actors that have played Spider-Man in live action theatrically didn't have. They did feel a little bit more older and more mature, while this one does feel like a real high school student, which is really fun. So moving on to my 3rd favorite MCU hero, I have Rocket Raccoon. So I don't know if people will agree with me on this one. I know a lot of people love Rocket and Groot. Groot did not make my top 10. Not even close, even though I do love the character of Groot too. I think there's less to that character than some of these other characters. And I feel like Rocket is just a super cool character to have all the time. by your side. Whether he's with Thor or whether he's with Star-Lord, I think he melds well with everybody he's interacted with, and he always has some of the greatest lines. And I think there is a backstory there that I would love to explore more. They kind of set up a little backstory for him in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. He did have an arc with Yondu in the second Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and I loved his arc even more in Avengers Infinity War. And it's one of the reasons why I'm super psyched to see him, even more of him. I'm glad he's the Guardian of the Galaxy that actually is going to be heavily featured more in Endgame, or at least I'm hoping, since he's the only one that's alive right now, him and Nebula. So, yeah, I mean, Rocket, definitely a great character. Plus, how can you not love animals, and a talking one at that, especially one that has an attitude, which is awesome. A great attitude at that. So, moving on to my second favorite hero. I never thought I'd say this, Captain America. If this was back during the first Captain America movie or the first Avengers movie, I think he'd be a little bit more lower. I don't think he'd crack my top 10. But ever since Winter Soldier and onwards, I feel like Captain America has grown more and more on my list. I really do feel that now that he's in this modern world and he's seen how much things have changed during this time, I think has made him a more interesting character. Realizing that the world is now different and maybe not in a great way, and seeing him react to all of this has been a lot of fun. And I think Chris Evans definitely has grown and become this character. I follow him on Twitter, and sometimes he's talking politics, and I'm like rooting for him because everything he says, I'm like, yes, Captain America, you tell them, man. So yeah, Captain America, definitely my second favorite hero right now, which leads me to my number one favorite character. I don't know if this will surprise people or not, but here we go, Thor. Thor has been my favorite character ever since I seen that first Thor movie. I liked him more than Iron Man, Tony Stark. And each film that has featured him, I think, makes me appreciate that character more and more as we go on. Definitely by the time Infinity War came out, I was like, me and my brothers, we always goof around, and who would be this character, who would be that character? And I would be like, I'd be Thor. Because Thor, to me, is just not only a badass character, a really funny character, too. And he has been through an incredible journey, if you really think about it. And out of all the characters, by the time Infinity War hits, he's the one that loses everything. He even says in the movie, Rocket asks him, what if, this axe doesn't work? And he says, well, if it doesn't work, what more do I have to lose? I mean, and you think about that, and it's like, man, he is right, man. He is at the bottom of the barrel, literally. And I do love his arc with his family. The family aspect is the one that really gravitates to me the most, because I am also a family guy. Not to get confused with the TV show Family Guy, but I'm a family man kind of person also. I do hold family in high regard, and me and my brothers also have had a lot of squabbles. I have two brothers, and we squabble quite a bit sometimes, but sometimes we do know how to brush our differences aside and work together as a team as well. And I think I relate to that a lot out of all these MCU characters. People think just because he's a god means you can't relate to a god, but I think you can relate to a family aspect of Thor, and that's what I think makes him a great character and interesting for me, anyways. So I think that's about it, guys. Those are my top 10 MCU heroes. I'm pretty confident about this list. Like I said, sometimes depending on my mood or as time goes on and we get to see these characters more, maybe my list can change, I feel bad for some of the characters I have at the bottom of my list. Like, I have War Machine, I have Quicksilver at the very bottom of my list. I have Mantis, and I love Mantis, but someone has to go at the bottom, and I have Groot and Hawkeye. So those are some of the characters I have at the very bottom of my list. Other characters are a little bit higher than those ones or lower than the ones that I mentioned. They're somewhere in between. So with that being said, guys, hey, look, don't be discouraged about my list if you don't agree with it. Comment below and tell me your top 10 MCU heroes. We all have a different take on who our favorites are. Sometimes we might even have the same. So with that being said, I hope you guys like. Please subscribe. Please comment. And let's have a discussion. Let's talk as fans of these movies, of these characters. And with that being said, Endgame, I can't wait. Yes, there will be a review tomorrow night. I don't know how late, because the movie's 3 hours long, which means I might get home around 11 o'clock at night. But I don't care. Even if I have to get it up at midnight, I'll have it up. So with that being said, until next time, take care.